As the Judson Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals and policies and oversee the management of the district. We are responsible for approving budgets, contracts, personal appointments, and to listen to reports from the superintendent. We are not here to make administrative or management decisions pertaining to the daily operations of the district. This is the responsibility of the superintendent. In compliance with the state government code on open meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in public, not a meeting of the public. As our guests, you are welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflects these proceedings, please silence your mobile devices and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings are recorded accurately, I may have to ask for order periodically should I notice that these disruptions are interfering with our recording capabilities. Once again, I extend to each of you a sincere welcome from the entire school board. Thank you for your interest in Judson ISD. We have established a quorum, and I will ask that all voting members please check in. And everyone is present. We do have a quorum. And I'd like to introduce to my immediate left our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Jeanette Ball.
Welcome, everybody. This is an exciting board meeting. It's always a pleasure to honor our Teachers of the Year and our school board. So good evening.
At this time, will you please stand for the invocation and our pledges?
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight to give you honor and praise. We ask you to guide us and to help us as we make decisions in the best interest of our students, our parents, our community, and our staff. We also want to ask your blessings upon our teachers, specifically here tonight, our Teachers of the Year that have done so much for our students, and also our school board members that continue to give of their time, their talent, and their energy to make sure that Judson ISD serves our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Tonight's color guard is being presented by the Wagner High School JROTC under the direction of retired Sergeant First Class Wayne Harper. The cadets that will be presenting the colors tonight, U.S. Flag Color Guard Commander, Cadet Captain Angelica Cruz Jara, Texas Flag Cadet Sergeant Major Miranda Uribe. The guards for tonight are U.S. Guard Cadet Major Abdiel Roque, Texas Guard Cadet Captain Donovan Ransall. Our pledge leader this evening is Quinn Vaughn. Quinn is a fourth grade student who is a GT student. She exemplifies the Olympia core values of respect, responsibility, and restorative practices. She is a natural leader and frequently leads the pledges at our school through intercom or videotaped announcements. She keeps very active, participates in our cheer club, takes piano lessons, and is on the local swim team. Thank you, Quinn, for leading our pledges.
Present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Order, arms. Center, face. Forward, march. Color guard, hold. Ready, step. Ready, pull. Ready, pose.
Thank you. You may be seated. And if we can have Miss Quinn come back up, we want to say thank you again. We have a certificate for you. Oh, there's Dr. Ball that she wants to present to you. And also we would like to thank Quinn's parents, Wendy and Philemon, and I believe she's got her little sister over there too. So thank you so much for all that you do for the district. And our fantastic Wagner color guard team, if you could come in for a quick picture. We always appreciate your crisp presentation of the colors. Awesome. Thank you so much. We would like to start our recognitions this evening by recognizing our most amazing school board, our Board of Trustees. School board members today are facing unprecedented challenges trying to navigate controversial topics in the education world, and we appreciate the way that these individuals show unwavering advocacy for what is best for our students, for our staff, for our families, and for our community. We are so proud of our Board of Trustees who truly rise above and remain committed to excellence. Our board members are true heroes who do not desire any recognition, but truly deserve our most grateful thanks. We have some certificates that we would like to give to you. And if y'all would come over here so we can take a picture. Ms. Renee Patel. Please help me again to thank them for their support.
Thank you, all of the campuses. Be expecting a lot of thank you cards from us. Thank you so much.
Okay. Our next recognition, I'm very, very humbled and super honored to be able to recognize our distinguished educators in Judson ISD. It's not easy being a teacher in normal times. And I know it goes without saying that it is definitely not a walk in the park to be a teacher during COVID times. Our teachers at Judson ISD continue to dedicate themselves and commit their passion for molding young minds into each and every day they show up to work. All of our educators in the district are truly incredible. It is an honor to be here tonight to be able to celebrate a special group of our incredible teachers. This group of teachers have been recognized, nominated, and selected by their peers this year as teachers who embody the spirit of excellence in Judson ISD. Not only are these teachers committed to providing the best learning experiences for students, they have also been a helpful mentor, supportive colleague, and positive contributor to the Judson ISD community. If you ask any of these educators, why do you do the things that you do? Why do you teach? You may hear things like, I teach so students realize their self-worth. Or, no matter what, I want my students to know I am in their corner. Or, I love watching them learn, laughing with them, and challenging them. Or, I teach because I want my students to take away that they are lifetime learners with the power to impact their own lives and the lives of others. I don't think you will hear any of them say, I teach for the money. But here at Judson, we do want to give our distinguished educators a small token of our appreciation and present them with a check for $500. There are no words to express how truly grateful we are to work with such amazing educators. I will be announcing each distinguished educator from all of our campuses. However, we are so fortunate to have many of these amazing people in attendance tonight. So when your name is called, please come up. Dr. Ball has a special presentation to give to you, and we will be taking pictures as well. So I will introduce our distinguished educators of 2021-22. From Candlewood Elementary, Sandra Guichard. From Converse Elementary, Brooke Bailey. From Copperfield Elementary, Jacqueline Wagner. From Coronado Village Elementary, Caitlin Anderson. From Crestview Elementary, Shantae King. From Elof STEAM Academy, Linda Hines. From Escondido Elementary, Katrina Simmons. From Franz Elementary, Rebecca Casares. From Hartman Elementary, Rosie Guajardo Geppert. From Hopkins Elementary, Amy Tijarina Lara. From Masters Elementary, Jennifer Woodruff. From Millers Point Elementary, Marilyn McKinney. From Olympia Elementary, Jessica Talley. From Park Village Elementary, Kaylee Andrews. From Paschal Elementary, Bianca Rangel. From Rolling Meadows Elementary, Kim Lowe. From Salinas Elementary, Christy Ann Villanueva. From Spring Meadows Elementary, Marta Castañeda. From Woodlake Elementary, Rebecca Roberts. From Wortham Oaks Elementary, Nellie Marquez. From JSTEM Academy, Jennifer Gilson. From Judson Middle School, Isabel Cañas. From Kirby Middle School, Aaron Orozco. From Kitty Hawk Middle School, Sarah Whitty McDowell. From Metzger Middle School, Felix Encarnacion. From Woodlake Hills Middle School, Nicholas Rodriguez. From Judson Care Academy, William McGee. From Judson Early College Academy, Dr. Renee Sterling. From Judson High School, Linda Bosques. From Judson Learning Academy, Gabrielle Simpson. From Veterans Memorial High School, Jeremiah Bruni. From Wagner High School, Colin Orand. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are our distinguished educators of 2021-2022. These are our best problem solvers. We're going to figure it out.
Yes, definitely. If we could get the lights on all the way. Put. Madam President, could we take a 10-minute break so we could congratulate these individuals and celebrate them? Thank you.
Let's take a 10-minute break at 6:22.
Thank you. Principals, if your teacher was not here, please come get their check. Principals, if your teacher was not here, please come get your check. Right here. I'm tired. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I have Rosie
Awkwardly sit next to you.
Say again?
Awkwardly stand next to you.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, good, good. Just want to make sure. Little alcohol.
Yeah, I'll take. We're calling this meeting back to order at 6:30 p.m. We will now move on to item 3, acknowledgement of visitors and citizens to be heard for public address and public comment, but there are none, all right? We'll move on to item 4, the consideration of consent items. And of course, if there's any items that board members you want to pull, just let me know. 4A, consider and take action regarding approving the board minutes from the special meeting held on November the 9th and the regular meetings held on September 16th, October 21st, and December 16th, 2021. B, consider and take action regarding approving the monthly financial information as of November 30th, 2021. C, consider and take action regarding approving budget transfers across expenditure function categories. D, consider and take action regarding approving expenditures equal to or greater than $50,000. E, consider and take action regarding approving the submittal for a request for proposal 21-09 for general and instructional supplies. F, consider and take action regarding approving the ranking for request for proposal 22-04 for landscaping maintenance services. G, consider and take action regarding approving amendment to the budget for the 2022 fiscal year. H, consider and take action regarding approving the certificate of substantial completion supporting the progress and the completion of the 2016 and 2017 bond construction projects. I, consider and take action regarding approving the professional services contract, construction contracts, and related contract amendments supporting the 2016 and 2017 bond design and construction requirements. J, consider and take action regarding approving resolution designating the investment officers for the Judson Independent School District. K, consider and take action regarding approving resolution designating the authorized representative for the Judson ISD for the Lone Star and Tex Pool investment pools. L, consider and take action regarding approving the district improvement plan. M, consider and take action regarding approving a proclamation to declare January 2022 School Board Appreciation Month. N, consider and take action regarding approving a proclamation to declare February 2022 Career and Technical Education Month. O, consider and take action regarding approving a proclamation to declare February the 7th through the 11th, 2022 National School Counselors Week, Better Together. P, consider and take action regarding approving an interlocal agreement with the Alamo Area Metro SWAT team. At this time, Board, we will vote on items A through F, H through K, M, N, and O. Is there a motion? Motion to approve, and is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. You may proceed to vote. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Let us go back to item 4G. Consider and take action regarding approving the amendment to the budget for the 2022 fiscal year. Dr. Ball? I'm sorry, Mr. Macias.
Dr. Ball, I didn't pull this item.
Yeah, I was like,
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. No, just a real quick recap. We're pulling, see, the largest is a $4 million expenditure for the general fund. That started this month in January, or when does that start?
I'm going to ask Bill to please remind me when it actually started, so I don't want to give you wrong information.
The self-funded health insurance plan started January 1st. These are excess workers' comp funds that have been in the fund balance, and so we're just moving some of these over to cash flow the first few months.
So it did start on January 1st. We already allocated funding for it. This is additional funding, as you said, for workers' comp?
Right. This is reserves that we had for workers' comp claims, and it's built up big enough that we had excess, and so we're moving that over to help fund the self-funded health insurance plan while we get premiums in.
Well, how much have we put into the self-funded? If you could.
Only the $4 million at this
Only
point
the
in
$4
time.
million. So this is really just, as you said, start-off money.
It's
since
just
we do
start-off
have that
money.
overage.
Yes.
Okay, that explains it. Thank you.
Is there a motion for item G?
I second the motion to approve.
Motion has been made and seconded. You may proceed to vote. That motion passes unanimously. Item L, consider and take action regarding approving the district improvement plan. Mr. Macias? Oh, was that Mr. Diaz?
We both did it. He's going to defer to me.
Okay.
Question, Dr. Ball.
Yes, sir.
And actually, first off, more so a reflection for the board. So this feels like one of the items that we shouldn't have on consent because it's so focused on student outcomes. Obviously, the district improvement plan. So I think we need to pay more attention to these sorts of items in the future. That way, we're appropriately versed on what it is that we're looking at, and then obviously measuring our progress to goals. Dr. Ball, as I look at the progress measures here under the formative reviews, is it, and I don't want to take anything for granted, so some of these will be very simplistic.
Okay.
The percentage that I'm looking at in November, is that the percentage of accomplishment for that set strategy? Like when I'm looking at November, 20% under strategy 1 and, let me go back.
Let me pull mine up so we're looking at the same thing.
So if we look at strategy 5, for example, so promote positive parental involvement by utilizing military transition, affiliate program at Copperfield, so on and so forth. In November, it was 5%.
Correct.
So at what point do we start identifying that some of these are critically behind and then determining the delta? Actually, when we look at it again in February, determining if we are on the right track to successfully meet that goal.
Right. So as soon as we started getting this data, we recognized that there are concerns and that we need to take a course of action if needed and either develop some other strategies to help us meet it by the next benchmark.
Which is this document that lays out the additional strategies that'll be adopted. Is that right?
Right. But this is a work in progress that when we notice that something might not be working, and if we need to make some changes, then we would be adding or deleting or changing it.
Okay. And for the goals that are like 50, 60, 70%, that seem to be very accelerated, is that reflective of the actual goal itself being, for the lack of a better word, too easy to achieve, that we should make it more rigorous or look at expanding that goal? Or is that not a good way to look at it?
I'm not sure if it's that it's too easy. We're trying to obtain some. Oh,
Ms. Davis wants
go ahead,
to
Ms. Davis. Sure.
That would vary by the department and the goal. So, for example, might be some goals that are set by outside entities, and the outside entity would determine where we are within the goal. And I'll give you an example. One of the strategies that I have in there is the SGS, and I can speak to that one. This document belongs to all of the directors and everybody who oversees different departments. I gave the percentage of where I was based on what TEA told me where I should be. So even though I am on track, I am completely on track of where TEA says I should be for the district. I only specified that that was still a percentage of where I would be at the end of the year. So it's hard to determine, because I could say that I am 100% on track, but on track is only a certain percentage of the year. So that could vary. It could be that it is 20%. It could be that it is 30%. So that does vary by the goal. It varies by the entity that we would respond to. And in some cases, it also means that there is work to do. And in some cases, it does mean that we're ahead. So it does vary by the department, and it does vary by the goal and the measurement, the analytics.
When do we see this again?
When can you see it again?
When will we see it again, the board?
It's yearly, but we can bring it back.
I mean, going back to the commitment that we made to be much more focused on watching and measuring the outcomes, our strategies for efficiency and effectiveness, we probably should look at it more often. Especially because a once a year snapshot of it won't give me any actionable data to make better decisions on governance, right? Those are my questions for right now.
Is there any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Diaz did ask some of the questions I would have asked, so it's on point. I guess we do see this annually, right? This is just an annual plan that's by law that we need to see.
Right.
And just so I understand it better, like when I'm looking at formative and on the first bullet point here of goals, it says 30% by November, and then detail number 2, it has 40% by February. Tell me a little bit about those metrics.
So these goals were also some of the goals that we discussed during our training. So some of those goals were included in this, and then just as Ms. Davis said, each of the department works on their specific area. Then we also take it to our site-based management committee to look at those goals. So it's a process that we go through from the departments, the site-based management, and then bringing it to the board. And then, of course, every campus also has their campus improvement plan that feeds into this.
And that was going to be my last question. If that campus improvement plan is already feeding into this district.
Yes, sir. It's an alignment that we have.
They are, so not completely in silos.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So 2 things that I got from it is, in the future, we will bring it to, we will remove it from consent, and then bringing it more often every 3 months. Would that be acceptable?
I think so.
Okay.
Right? We can adjust it.
Of course.
If need be. I think the thing that we should, and I'm trying to avoid, is that I look at it once a year and then realize a year later, like, oh, we were super behind and can't take any action on it.
Sure.
Or have that frame the lens of how we should govern or prioritize projects. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll get more updates on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Ball, maybe we could see it after the formative review times. So you have the November, so maybe December, January meeting.
That's a great idea.
February could come March, April, depending on, when you get all the data in. Mm-hmm. And just kind of follow up with those formative reviews, dates that are already set there.
That sounds great to me, if that's what the board is okay with that.
Is that a general consensus of the board? Quarterly. Okay. Is there a motion for item L?
Motion to approve item L as presented.
The motion has been made and seconded. At this time, you may proceed to vote. That motion passes unanimously. Lastly, we have item P, consider and take action regarding approving an interlocal agreement with the Alamo Area Metro SWAT team. Mr. Macias.
Yes. I guess talk to me a little bit about that. It's always good to collaborate, and I noticed in the information we received, it's a collaboration with multiple municipality, police departments, and the county. I always like to ask because the scope of our police department obviously should be on campuses, so I want to make sure we're not way outside. So talk to me a little bit about what this interlocal really means.
Right, so of course this is in case we were to need another resource, additional support, or additional help. We have this agreement. This agreement is with several of the other municipalities, so this would enable us to be able to get... No, thank you. Thanks. This would help us to be able to get other resources. If our Judson ISD police was lacking something or needing some additional support, we would have this MOU to reach out to them.
I remember one budgetary cycle where we purchased, weaponry that was really above and beyond what we typically would use, and it was, of course, just in case we ever had a major hostage situation or something to that effect. We could. So I always want to make sure that is there unexpected expenses as a result of this interlocal agreement that we'll have to entail?
The only one is we have continued to have a partnership. I don't know if you've ever noticed the tanker that sits right out here, right in the parking lot of Live Oak Police Department. It is something that the district entered into about 5 years ago, and that would be one of the main things that we've had with Live Oak.
And I guess my last comment in thinking of these collaborations, which again I think are extremely important, on the traffic side, just to have continued communication with the police departments in those areas. I think if there's one thing I hear about from our collaboration is maybe not enough support from whatever the situation is. So just as I'm looking at this agreement, that might be something to just consider, that we're looking at that aspect as well.
Okay.
But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion for item P?
I move that we approve the interlocal agreement with the Alamo Area Metro SWAT team.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. You may proceed to vote. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 5.
Madam President, if you don't...
I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Yes. We need to go back to the proclamations.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. You have somebody to read
Yes.
all of those?
Yes, ma'am. The very first one, M, will be read by Ms. Gosh, which has to do with the proclamation to declare January School Board Appreciation Month.
Greetings. Judson ISD Board of Trustees. Whereas the mission of public schools is to meet the diverse educational needs of all children and to empower them to become competent, productive contributors to a democratic society and an ever-changing world. And whereas local school board members are committed to children and believe that all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child. And whereas local school board members work closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision we want for our students. And whereas local school board members are responsible for ensuring the structure that provides a solid foundation for our school system. And whereas local school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectation to the district. Now, therefore, Jeanette Ball, Superintendent of Schools, hereby declares her appreciation to the members of the Judson ISD School Board and proclaims January 2022 as School Board Recognition Month in Judson ISD. And she urges all citizens to join her in recognizing the dedication and the hard work of local school board members and in working with them to mold an education system that meets the needs of both today's and tomorrow's children. Thank you, School Board.
Thank you all very much for everything you do.
Thank you, Dr. Ball.
The next one we will have read has to do with Career and Technical Educational Month. This proclamation is being read by Ms. Davis.
Whereas February 2022 has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education, and whereas profound economic and technological changes in our society are rapidly reflected in the structure and nature of work, thereby placing new and additional responsibilities on our educational system, and whereas Career and Technical Education provides students with a school-to-careers connection and is the backbone of a strong, well-educated workforce, which fosters productivity in business and industry and contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace. And whereas Career and Technical Education gives high school students experience in practical, meaningful applications of basic skills such as reading, writing, and mathematics, thus improving the quality of their education, motivating potential dropouts, and giving all students leadership opportunities in their fields and in their communities. And whereas Career and Technical Education offers individuals lifelong opportunities to learn new skills, which provide them with career choices and potential satisfaction. And whereas the ever-increasing cooperative efforts of career and technical educators, business and industry stimulate the growth and vitality of our local economy and that of the entire nation by preparing graduates for career fields forecast to experience the largest and the fastest growth in the next decade. Now, therefore, we, the Judson Independent School District Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim February 1 through 28th, 2022 as Career and Technical Education Month and urge all citizens to become familiar with the services and benefits Judson ISD offers for career and technical education programs in this community and to support and participate in these programs to enhance their individual work skills and productivity. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the Great Seal of the Judson ISD this 20th day of January 2022.
We have one more, and that will be read by Dr. Duhart Topping, and that has to do with National School Counseling Week, Better Together.
Good evening. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their fullest potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, we, Judson ISD School Board, do hereby proclaim February the 7th through the 11th, 2022 as National School Counseling Week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Toppin. We now move on to item 5, discussion and consideration of action items. 5A, consider and take possible action regarding the approval of the personnel report, of which we will do in closed session. And moving on to 6, discussion items and reports. 6A, superintendent report, dyslexia, and 504. Dr. Ball?
Yes, so monthly we provide the board some information. And tonight, though it does say 504, it's going to be just dyslexia. So we will be having information on dyslexia, and then we will bring additional information on 504 in the future.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, members of the board and Dr. Ball. I am Patricia Baker. I'm the District Dyslexia Coordinator, and this is...
Good evening, Board. My name is Stephen Tobias, and I am a Special Education Supervisor Specialist here with the district.
And we are representing the dyslexia program. We will be giving you an overview of our district dyslexia program, and of course discuss its role in the special education department. We will also share some information about the recent TEA monitoring, which generated an executive summary, some of which was presented at a previous board meeting. We'd like to also provide you with information on some areas we have recognized as focus items moving forward. The information on this slide is taken from a study conducted by the American Institutes for Research at the behest of TEA. At the time, state dyslexia reporting was relatively new to TEA. Since then, TEA has added even more reporting areas for dyslexia, the most recent of which includes information about dyslexia screeners and services. Dyslexia is the most commonly diagnosed learning disability, with a prevalence rate of anywhere from 5% to 20% depending on the source. The National Institute of Child Health and Human Development estimates the rate at 10%. Judson holds steady currently at 6.5. This past year, the State Board of Education agreed to update the Texas Dyslexia Handbook, which will be published to the Texas Register on February 4th. The most significant change is that it recognizes a single pathway for evaluation and identification of dyslexia. This would be an evaluation through special education. Previous to this school year, the state recognized 2 pathways, one of which was evaluation through the Section 504 program. Judson has followed the single pathway model since 2018, when the state developed a corrective action response after being found in violation of the Department of Education's guidance on issues like child find. The change has been gradual, with dyslexia therapists initially working in tandem with district LSSPs in the evaluation process. We now have 100% of the evaluations for dyslexia conducted by LSSPs or diagnosticians, and the dyslexia program falls under the special education department. Mr. Tobias will provide a bit more information about this partnership.
Thank you. Again, so when we look at dyslexia in special education, dyslexia is clearly defined as it is with the Texas Education Code. Remarkably as well, with the Dyslexia Handbook, as you noted there, highlighted in blue, in 2018, which Ms. Baker will highlight later in the today. We look at the characteristics of dyslexia that include difficulties with those listed: identifying and recalling the names of alphabet letters, mapping sounds to letters, reading fluency, spelling, reading comprehension, etc. IDEA, the federal law, recognizes students with a specific learning disability as an evaluation component, and dyslexia is one of those specific learning disabilities. Accordingly, then, our students with dyslexia then implement an individualized education program or plan. That plan is determined by an important component and stakeholders called the Admission Review and Dismissal Committee. Henceforth, those committees meet together and they consider the specific needs of the students with dyslexia. For example, phonological awareness, reading fluency, spelling, written expression, etc. And will develop what we now have a PLAF in educational terms, which is the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. Those PLAFs are created from a multiple data sources accordingly through the stakeholders involved with that student. Those PLAFs, as we call them, then lead to special education goals. What would be measurable and achievable and reasonable within a clearly defined time frame. Those IEP goals are discussed by the ARD committee, and they are given the time frame, condition, behavior, and criteria. They are clearly articulated within our children's IEP. Uniquely, those goals are then reported every grading period and as needed to the parents through a progress reporting mechanism. Those goals can be reworked, reworded, but through the ARD committee will make those decisions based on the data that's presented. Ms. Baker will go more in depth later in the presentation regarding the dyslexia instruction that we provide here at Judson. But if you notice the blue section, and my screen it's orange, but on the screen it looks dark. The components of instruction should include phonological awareness, phonics, morphology and vocabulary, syntax, etc. And the instruction should be provided using multi-sensory engagements, be very explicit, and based on research-based practices. All told, that arrow in the middle of our presentation here on this slide says that there's an integrated approach. So a student with dyslexia who receives their IEP through that ARD committee is going to be able to reach our special education services through related services, supplementary aids and services, program modifications, and support from our personnel. Ms. Baker is going to outline how dyslexia and special education is taught here on our campuses.
Thank you. So the dyslexia teacher or therapist provides dyslexia instructional services or intervention, as it states there, because it must be provided by a staff member who is trained in dyslexia and the specific program or curriculum that is being implemented. This slide also lists the many ways in which we can meet the needs of the student with dyslexia through special education, some of which are only available through special education, such as modification of instructional pacing and supplemental reading instruction from a special education teacher. Now, Texas is considered a trailblazer when it comes to dyslexia in public education. And the focus it is given is exemplified by the legislation and state reporting requirements from TEA. There are quite a few related to early identification of dyslexia. Dyslexia screeners are now required for all first grade students and kindergartners. There's also training requirements of campus staff and general education teachers. A bit of a correction from my slide to the one provided to you earlier is the asterisk next to the entry at the bottom about per pupil funding. Per pupil dyslexia funding came about in 2019 as part of House Bill 3. One of the requirements from the state since the early years of dyslexia law has been the need to provide a program that follows the state's criteria as outlined in the Dyslexia Handbook. Judson has several programs that meet the criteria. The main one being Take Flight, which is a comprehensive intervention for students with dyslexia. All of the components listed here are contained in the curriculum we provide to the students. The Dyslexia Handbook update that is set to be released this week has three main areas that are impacted. Chapter 2 relates to the mandated dyslexia screeners for all kindergarten and first grade students. The list of required areas of measure dropped considerably from 9 skills in first grade to 2 skills. It went from 7 skills to 2 skills for kindergartners. Chapter 3 is the most meaningful change, which, as I stated before, Judson had already adopted this change in 2018. This single pathway approach necessitated language changes through the handbook, where it used to include Section 504 as the choice in evaluations. At the time I created this slide, our numbers were as listed. We have 1,613 students identified with dyslexia. Of those, 567 of them received dyslexia instructional services from a dyslexia teacher or therapist. 25 of our teachers are certified academic language therapists, 4 of whom are bilingual. 2 therapists are still in training. So all told, we have 27 certified academic language therapists, 4 therapists in training. At least one designee is at each campus or for each Judson campus, and that includes our alternative setting. We have a ratio of about 21 students requiring instructional services for each dyslexia teacher, but as you can see, the total of students identified with dyslexia, that would be a ratio of about 60 students identified with dyslexia for each dyslexia teacher or therapist. Last spring, Judson was scheduled for the state's dyslexia monitoring at the same time that we were undergoing the special education cyclical monitoring. This monitoring is to occur every 6 years at a minimum. The dyslexia review took place from April through June, giving us plenty of time to gather artifacts of implementation to send to the state. These were the main overall areas of fidelity review, with dysgraphia procedures and monitoring included in several of these areas, but listed in the status summary on their own. These are artifacts that were requested under each area. It's a list of the types of artifacts that were requested. In late July, Dr. Ball received an executive summary outlining the findings of the monitoring process. After submitting over 1,500 pages of artifacts, we were found to be in compliance in all areas of implementation for the district dyslexia program. Yay, thank you. TEA identified areas of strength for our district that included extensive training and preparation for the general education teachers as well as our dyslexia specialists. We are taking their areas of consideration to heart in our focus items moving forward. We will, in order to strengthen our internal systems and procedures, we are ensuring ongoing review of the program by establishing a focus group of stakeholders that includes campus staff. We're hoping to add a dyslexia specialist to our district staff and continue what we began this past summer with the offer of dyslexia educational support during the summer. We are also applying for a dyslexia program grant offered by TEA, and we mean to offer more training to our teachers and administrators and more opportunities for our Judson parents to benefit from dyslexia events district-wide. We also want to increase support of dyslexia staff in their more broadened role as providers of special education services. Thank you very much for your attention and support. Do you have any questions for us?
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Ms. Eaton?
Yes.
Turn your mic on, Ms. Eaton, please.
On the slide where, can you hear me now? Right there, right there.
There.
It says 1,600 identified with dyslexia, but only 567 are receiving instructional services. So what's happening with the other students?
The other students have, most of them have already gone through the dyslexia program, and so now they're receiving accommodations and support of that kind.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Ms. Canoyer.
I just want to say how proud I am of our dyslexia program that we offer here in Judson ISD. We were one of the earliest districts to move to having certified academic language therapists at all our campuses. I've seen with students that I had the growth and the change in what students were able to accomplish through being in this program. And I really, truly appreciate what you do to oversee it and all our specific therapists on campus that have done so much for our students. So I just wanted to say that. a lot of people have moved into Judson because their children have dyslexia, and our program is so notable. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Macias.
Yes, very, very good presentation. And I'll say that, my daughter, the oldest, who went to ELOF, went through dyslexia, and it really did shape her academic success going forward. So I can concur with Ms. Canoyer, seeing it firsthand. But are we able to reach every student that we state or have identified as dyslexic? And if yes, have we been able to identify all students? Are there students out there that may not be identified as dyslexic? And what are we doing to sort of address that?
I think that's where the screeners come in. We're trying to find those students as early as possible. I don't think we have everyone, but we try our hardest to do that. We have one of the highest percentage rates for the larger school districts in the region. We're at about the same, roughly the same numbers as the Northeast ISD, which is 4 times our size. So I think we do a very good job of identifying students. I want to do a better job. So that's why we have things like screeners and trainings on campuses on characteristics of dyslexia.
And who does the screening? Is it the classroom teachers that typically do that screening?
It's a combination. The teachers have to conduct a literacy screener, and what the dyslexia therapist does is she supplements the screener, because although the state has said you really only need to measure these 2 skills in order to determine dyslexia risk, we like as much data as we can possibly have. So between the general ed teacher and the dyslexia therapist, they look at that data together to determine whether or not they believe the child has is at risk for dyslexia.
And since we have identified that there's probably still a percentage that we haven't been able to bring in, do we have capacity to bring them in?
We will build capacity to bring them in.
Now, part of the dyslexia program is federally funded. Am I correct? Or?
Well, we get state funding now, per pupil funding through the state, and you'd have to ask Mr. Atkins where that money comes from. But we do get per pupil funding, and also if they're in special education, they get that federal funding.
All right, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Ms. King.
Thank you so much for that great presentation. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for that great presentation. And I'm just so happy that Judson has the dyslexia component under SPED, the SPED umbrella. So very good. A lot of districts do not have that. Also, I'm very pleased to know that there is a dyslexia teacher or therapist on each campus. And so I was seeing that you guys are looking for a dyslexia specialist to add to the team.
The district staff?
Yes, to spearhead the program.
For monitoring and all of the responsibilities that the state places on us kind of spreads us thin. There's always these changing needs, reporting needs. So yes, we're hoping to do that, to do an even better job.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you so much, Ms. Baker and Mr. Tobias. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a great program.
You made this much easier. I was terrified for no reason.
All right, let us move on to item 6B, discuss fraud and abuse hotline. Mr. Macias.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. I just wanted to revisit, this is a conversation that Dr. Ball and I've had regarding the fraud and abuse hotline. So I just wanted to have board input, but also just get an update from Dr. Ball on what our current strategies are based on our conversation. So,
I'm going to go to the podium.
Sure.
So through Mr. Macias, I learned that a few years back, I don't remember the exact timing, the board had requested for there to be a certain way to report fraud and abuse. When I entered into the district, I wasn't aware of that, and we started to use something now that's called direct chat. So any employee, community member, citizen, student, anybody can go into direct chat, and you have some topics. So some topics if you want to report something. So you'll see that wasteful spending is right here, and then report fraud is right here. You can do this anonymously. So you can put in here, you know, I receive them on a daily basis. Every senior staff member receives them on a daily basis. Sometimes we can follow up with the individual depending if they put in their contact information. Other times it's just stuff for us to know because we don't know who put that in there. So though this says name, email, and phone number, many times people just put XXX, blah, 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 whatever they want to put in there. The system doesn't, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it allows it to be submitted even without a correct email, without a correct phone number, and without a correct name. So the system doesn't recognize if it's a false or made up name. We still get this information. Just last week I got one, they titled it fraud, but it had to do with the fingerprinting. They didn't understand why there was a cost for fingerprinting. Luckily, that person did put in their contact information, and we were able to contact them and explain that. So this is the system that we currently use for our district.
The board directive, there were two things that came out of that discussion back in 2012. And I was the one that put that item on the agenda, so I can speak pretty specifically about what the intent was. And the intent was to establish this mechanism, but also include a toll-free hotline for anonymous tips regarding fraud and abuse. And during that discussion, it was clear that there was still a level of uncertainty that individuals can be tracked via their input, whatever computer. But they couldn't be tracked if they called in a toll-free 800 number and gave the third party the information that they wanted to give. So there was a level there that gave some true autonomy. And I say true because this may be autonomous, but for anybody who's by a computer, you've heard and seen that it's always traceable in some way, shape, or form. So the toll-free number gave an extra layer of support. Secondly, the board is to be informed of anything that comes through the fraud and abuse hotline, because it sort of is an accountability. Other than that, it's always, I don't know if, for example, let me just give you an example. Say there was a fraud and abuse, mismanagement in finance, which there's not. Finance is doing awesome on that committee. We're going to be doing great. But just say there is, right? And if the people who are policing it are the administration, how far do you think that's going to go, really? So if the board is informed, we can ask questions, too, to ensure that accountability is there. We debated this thing for 45 minutes back in 2012, and it passed 5-2. So what I haven't seen, per our discussion, is a reestablishment of that toll-free number, which was a board directive, and also the reports coming to us monthly that would stipulate any call or anything that's put on this for fraud and abuse, just for our review. We'll let you handle it, but we, as a board, should have at least insight on what some of these, what's being raised, if at all. And I've seen fraud and abuse hotlines work tremendously to really stop actual abuse. And so there was a finding recently. When I say recently, I'm thinking back to 2012. There was a finding back in 2012 where individuals were using resources, district resources, to build onto their property. And it was reported by fraud and abuse. There's just a lot of instances where things can be identified. We just want to give our community, not just our employees, but our community, that opportunity to report any abuse. And I would like to see that toll-free number reestablished as an additional. You can leave this format as you presented. I think it looks fine. But to have a toll-free number per the directive of the board, and you said you weren't here when that happened. I can definitely see that and understand. But until there's another directive, that's sort of what the call to action is. And so if my colleagues differ on that, then certainly we can put that on the agenda for next month and debate that issue. But in terms of what the directive was, I'd like to see that toll-free number back on the website, and also a report given monthly to the board if there's anything that's been reported.
I'd like to ask, Mr. Macias, would you be agreeable to the report being sent through the superintendent Friday notes?
That's fine. Yeah, sending it through that is fine. I mean, that works.
So what I will do then is for the next board meeting, bring some information into having a toll-free number, bring back some information in regards to the cost, and just further information on that.
Are you able to find through our history who we used? I think we spent, again, this was another $1,500 a year, which is really was not a lot of money to spend on it.
Well,
so that's probably going to be just a quick turnkey as far as I.
As long as they're still in business.
Is there anything else, Mr. Macias? Okay, let's move on then. 6C, Statement of Impact Amendment, submitted by Harmony Public Schools, South Texas Charter Schools. Dr. Ball?
Yes, ma'am. These are the letters that we continue to get about the possibility of charter schools opening up that it could affect our area.
Item D, update on board advisory committees. I'll start with Mr. Diaz. Did you attend any board advisory meetings?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Macias?
I regrettably missed my meeting, but we'll be back at the next one, so I'll have more to report then.
Okay. Ms. Canoyer?
Thank you. I attended the Finance Committee, Advisory Committee, on January 13th, and Mr. Scott Smith, is that right? Mr. Stevens and Mr. Atkins presented us with information, which was like a historical review of our revenues and expenditures and our year-to-date budget. And we looked also at enrollment and attendance data, and got some not so good news about that, and going to be brainstorming what we can do to help with that. And that's basically it until our next meeting.
Okay.
We also talked about the schedule for the budget process.
Okay. Yes, we do have our first budget workshop in February. I did attend the first bond meeting that we had since the bond failed. And all of the information that Dr. Fields brought in December was what was discussed at that meeting. So the public and our board and staff have already been updated on what we're going to do with that, but I did attend that meeting. I don't suspect that Ms. Rodriguez attended any meetings.
No, I just got back from my medical leave last week, so I haven't attended anything.
And we want to just say that we're glad to have you back. Yeah. Ms. Eaton.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Ball, how do you, what's the acronym?
The SHAC meeting.
SHAC committee.
SHAC.
The
Yes, ma'am.
committee meeting. I attended that. We had a presentation on that first meeting and some feedback from parents, but we had an excellent turnout. It was a good meeting for the first one, and I look forward to our continued working through that program.
Ms. King?
No updates at this time.
All righty. Item E, update on board training, conferences, events, consider future agenda items, requests by board members.
Madam President, before you give everybody the opportunity, I'd like to ask the board to please, in your calendar, we have to continue now with our work that we started with Patricia Areventes.
Oh, okay.
And I was just waiting for everybody to come back. So if everybody could put on their calendar February 21st and 22nd. It's a Monday and Tuesday. And if you recall, it's from 6 to 9. So February 21st and 22nd. If it's, yes, ma'am, in here. anybody has an issue, because we do need everybody, please let me know ASAP. But Patricia's available that night, so I hope everybody can make it.
Okay.
From 6 p.m. to 9. Yes, ma'am.
And just a reminder that, we'll be back again before then, but the gala has been moved to March, so that's coming up. And let's see, is there anything else? Does anybody have anything that they need to add or bring up?
I don't think so.
Yes, with the winter governance is in March. I think it starts the end of February and goes through March the 5th. Well, since we have our gala on March the 4th, I don't know if we'll be able to actually attend. I was planning on not attending the winter governance because of the gala, but I guess we can, and we were going to have some students that were going to perform. I don't know if that's going to still be a conflict. We know that we're not going to have students now.
Well, let me clarify that.
Okay.
So we do have students that are going to perform,
Mm-hmm.
but we also had a student group that was going to present. The
Okay.
student group will not present,
Okay.
but the students will perform.
Performance will still.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. The musical performance.
And will that be Friday or Saturday?
They
do you
have
know?
they have not told me.
See, the only thing is that we've got our gala March the 4th, and that's the little conflict.
Right.
So I hate to miss supporting our kids. Anyway, is there anything else? Well, if there are not any more comments or questions pursuant to Texas Government Code section.
Are we asking for future agenda items?
Yes,
or-
sir, I did.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were still on the advisory. I do have two requests.
Do you have two agenda items, sir?
I do have two. One, I wanted to reevaluate the tutoring stipend and our tutoring initiatives currently and as we go forward. So basically just a discussion item on our tutoring initiatives. And in part, just to put it out there, in part, because I did request that what we were doing to compensate teachers with tutoring, I want to know kind of, just again, recap where that is, but looking at tutoring overall.
Yes.
And then secondly, I'd like to look at summer programs. I want a discussion on what our summer programming is looking like with our new ESSER funds and with our title funds and everything else that we allocate for the
Yes.
district.
No problem.
Anyone else? Then at this time, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, we are going into closed session discussing the personnel report, Director of Athletics, Principal at Millers Point Elementary, and the Principal of Judson Early College Academy. Also in closed session, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, attorney consultation regarding legal issues related to potential, anticipated, or pending instruction litigation and construction items. At this time, 7:26, we will go into closed session.
I'm going to set it up so we can do the construction litigation first.
Okay.
Bill and Helen. Mike, give us the thumbs up. Great. Thank you, Mike.
The time now is 8:54 p.m. We are back in open session. I want to start with item 8B, consider and take possible action regarding legal issues. There were no actions taken. And now we'll go back to item 8A, consider and take possible action regarding the personnel report and updates, including new hires, resignations, and administrative appointments. Let me clear this board.
I move we approve
Thank
the personnel report as presented.
Second.
The personnel report has been moved and seconded. And now you may proceed to vote. That motion passes unanimously. And Dr. Ball, would you like to make the announcements?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just letting some people trickle in. They must have been eating cupcakes. I'd like to congratulate the following individuals. I'd like to congratulate the principal for Millers Point, Mr. Joshua Ellis. Congratulations. Like to congratulate the principal for JECA, Mr. Greg Brower. Like to congratulate the principal for Veterans Memorial High School, Sue Arredondo. Like to congratulate the director of athletics, Carl Pointer. He couldn't be here with us tonight, but he's excited. Yep. Like to congratulate Delaney Doggy, assistant principal at Judson High School, and assistant principal for Judson High School, Joe Gutierrez.
If there's nothing else, that concludes our meeting for this evening. And I would like to say publicly, happy belated birthday, Mr. Diaz.
Thank you. I thought I got away with it. Appreciate it.
This meeting is adjourned at 8:57 p.m. Congratulations.